You're listening to the Tech Addicts podcast. This week, what's the time on the moon? Robert's Rambler Dab Radios, Lenovo's auto-opening laptop, Pocket Casts adding a feature, a cheap Moto Razr, that PlayStation 5 Pro pricing, and Plex photos. Hello and welcome to the Tech Addicts podcast. I'm your host Gareth, and this here is Ted. How are you doing, Ted?
Hello, everyone. How lovely to be back with you again in an Apple-free show. Oh, no, I didn't say that. Weather report here is nice and rainy today. Very nice. And we're cooling down for autumn, and I'm very happy chappy in terms of the climate. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I've just remembered what you said there about Apple. They had an announcement during the week, but I suppose if you want to find out about that...
Don't you start.
You can tune into the phone show chat, because they cover it all. Don't they? You do. You're there.
They do. I'm there sitting in the corner. Well, Steve and Richard bang on about bloody Apple. I mean, about lovely Apple.
Yes. Have an involved and interesting conversation. Anyway, we'll talk about more interesting stuff on this show. Joking. Right, okay, so, the weather is quite lovely here, actually. It's really quite warm. There's a blue sky and, seagull crap all over the skylight. I'll have to get up and clean that. I hate seagulls, but I'll have to get one of those t-shirts from NAS Compares. Yeah, we've got tons of stuff to talk about on this show, so we could just get into it.
Okay.
I'm not going to really report on too much in the way of Linux developments, because I've spent the last 2 weeks making a decision about Google Drive. And the more I look at Google One, the more I realize it's really crap value for what I'm paying for. It used to be pretty good, but they've taken away a few things that I quite liked about it. I did use Google VPN, and whenever I was on holiday recently, I noticed that it wasn't there anymore. So I had to use my own VPN.
You need to have a Pixel to use VPN now in Google.
Which is crap, because that's one of the things that was included in Google One, so they've taken that away. Yeah. So I had to look through the benefits, and I noticed that you've got Magic Eraser, which is Pixel based.
Yeah.
And I've got a Samsung phone, so it's kind of got it built in from Samsung's side. And then there's Google Drive, which is all I'm using it for. So I justified Google Drive for long enough with a little bit of extras for, what is it? I can't remember what it was, yearly. But on the 17th of this month, I was due to renew for another year.
Mm.
And I thought, nah, screw it.
Bollocks.
I'm not going to do that anymore. I've got my Synology for all my data, so I don't need cloud storage. It's only 2 terabytes, so it's not doing a great amount of backup. I'm gonna clear it out, and I'm going to cancel my subscription. So I cancelled my subscription, which is up until the 17th. I said there, didn't I? Yeah, I did.
That's 2 days' time.
Yeah, but Google doesn't care. I'm over my limit now, and I can't do anything, even though I'm paid up until the 17th. Well, I suppose you could say midnight on the 16th. But no, red flags, couldn't do anything. You're done, mister. Get out.
Oh, dear.
So I had
That's why I couldn't get to the recording notes.
Yeah, which I should have been able to use, because I've paid for today, and I paid for yesterday. I've paid for tomorrow as well. But no, Google's just clamping things down. They sent me an email saying all your stuff will be deleted on the 12th of October, on the day that I cancelled, regardless of the 5 days that I still paid for. So
you mean September?
No, the 12th of October, because I've got 30 days to clear out my Google Drive.
Oh, okay.
But there became a real problem with clearing everything out, and I was trying to do a couple of different ways to maximize efficiency, where you can go into Google Drive and then you can zip up a folder and download it, whilst you can mount Google Drive as a network drive and be able to drag folders across and drop them on your desktop so that you can copy that way as well. So, doing it one way or another. Google Takeout can be utilized for Google Photos and all that kind of stuff.
Anything.
So
Good takeout.
Kind of having that going.
Takeout works with everything.
Well, no, it doesn't work with everything.
Really?
It works with file formats that it likes. I started receiving real problems from the likes of Audacity. Whenever you build a template in Audacity, you can save it as a .au or AU3 file, which Google Drive doesn't recognize.
No, but it'll save the file, so you can then open it later when you have Audacity installed somewhere else.
Possibly from Takeout. But whenever you're doing that, whenever you're zipping up, because I have a big folder on Google Drive called Podcast, which has loads of stuff in it for all different podcasts and things, I zipped that and it went, nope, can't zip that. And it took me a while to dig down to find out why it couldn't zip that. And it's because Google Drive doesn't recognize Audacity template files as a viable file format. So it just gives up.
Right.
And it can sit there for about 20 minutes zipping and then just say, no, can't do this.
You could not zip it, just copy it.
Yes, that's what I ended up having to do. But you might not realize that. You might not be technically proficient to be able to do that, and you just think that all your data is coming down from Google Drive, and then realize that a huge swathe of it hasn't worked because of one rogue file in a big folder. And it's not exactly easy to work out exactly what the problem was, and you'll just find out maybe after those 30 days and go, oh no, that whole folder didn't actually download, if you're not checking through it. Google Photos, I did the takeout on it, and there was a bunch of stuff that didn't download. 3GP video files, which it allows you to upload, didn't download in the takeout. And I had to go manually download them from Google Photos, which was a bit of a pain.
Yeah. There was a thing a while back, I think we reported it on the show, about Google Drive not accepting some file formats. That it was a change about, I don't know, 6 months ago. We did talk about it, and this is obviously the result of that, I guess.
Yeah, but it's accepted them at any time prior to that.
Yeah.
And maybe even it accepts them now, but whenever you try to take them out again, it doesn't recognize them, so it won't let you.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous, and people can lose stuff that way when they think this is pretty good. And you might have 2 terabytes worth of stuff is a lot of stuff to download, and being able to pick through every single thing to make sure that it's there is a problem.
Yeah.
So I'm utilizing Pcloud again. It's easily one of the best cloud storage systems to back up all that information as my kind of off-site cloud storage thing. So I'm putting it all back up there, and I'm just hit one button, away you go. It works really nicely with the Linux environment. It works very nicely in the Windows environment as well. It's just excellent. I really like that service. Years ago, I bought the lifetime 2 terabyte thing deal, and yeah, I've never looked back. I'm really pleased. I made a couple of good decisions back then for Pcloud and Plex around the same time. About 50 quid.
99 years you got.
Well, yeah.
It says lifetime storage. No, it's like leasing a flat or something, isn't it? Oh, sorry, buying a flat on leasehold.
It is. But by that stage, I'm sure we'll have SSDs that are, up to 1 million gigabytes or whatever, terabytes. So I won't have to worry about that, and I'll be dead.
So how much is lifetime storage to buy now then?
Oh, it's quite expensive.
I can't see any.
It's about €1,000 or
really?
something like that. Yeah.
Individual plan. Here we go. Premium. Oh, it depends how much storage you want. So 10 terabytes is £1,100 one-off payment.
That's a lot of money. Yeah. But the 2 terabyte one is £400 now, whereas I think I got it for like 50 quid or something when Pcloud was in their infancy.
Right.
And I bought that, and I bought Plex, but I also bought another thing at the same time called Polar Backup, which is yeah, it was 5 terabytes, I think, for about £50 or something like that. And it just sat in the background, and you'd give it various folders to back up, and it would sit there and happily just back them up. So whenever I was ripping DVDs, hard to find DVDs and things like that, I would put a copy of them up into my Polar backup, and forget about them really. And whenever I made the move from Windows to Linux, I went into Polar Backup, and I put a few things back up there, and I maxed out the 5 terabytes. But then last week, I went to see, can I get a Polar Backup client for Linux? And I went to log in, and I said, your account doesn't exist.
Oh.
I just did it a few months ago. What are you talking about? And I checked all my details and tried to log in over and over again, and then I emailed customer support to say, where's my account gone? And nothing. I emailed them again, nothing. I emailed them a third time, various different addresses, nothing. So, yeah, I had a little Google around, and I noticed an awful lot of people over the last few months have gone, yeah, they've deleted everything off my backup, and they've locked me out of my account.
Oh, dear.
I've lost everything.
Wow.
It's like, oh, right, okay, they're a bad company. Yeah, so they've sort of reneged on all their lifetime agreements.
So if that is true, then who's to say that Pcloud might not do the same thing? To some degree, you've got to trust someone, haven't you? And this is why I've kind of decided to trust Google, frankly, because the logic is a huge company are less likely to go tits up, I would guess. I don't know. It's tricky, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I'd say yes, but then Pcloud, I have a backup up there of stuff that I have in my hard drive, so it'll take an extraordinary stroke of fate for both Pcloud and my Synology to go down on the same day and for me to lose that data. Pcloud has been around for a long time, and I think they're just getting stronger and stronger. A lot of people are recommending them, and the more I was watching, cloud storage solutions, review guides and things like that, and the 5 best cloud storages, those sorts of things on YouTube. Pcloud generally pops out on top because it's just a company that's getting better and better, and I reckon that they're in for the long haul, and it'll take an extraordinary interaction for them to go away anytime soon. So I'd fully recommend them. They're very friendly, and they've got a great client that works on both or all 3 Mac, Windows, and Linux. And they are an excellent service. They can encrypt fully at an extra subscription as well, to allow end-to-end encryption for any data that you're putting up there. So good stuff, Pcloud. Boo to Polar Backup. You're a pack of bastards. I didn't really lose anything too much. I wasn't really too worried about losing all the stuff in Polar Backup. It was just a bit of an annoyance because I'm just glad I've got my Synologies.
Yeah. I've just had a look at the best cloud storage solution, and one place is saying Cloud Mounter. Oh no, that's for Mac, not more bloody Apple. Right, forget that idea. Go back to where you were. So yes, Pcloud is the one then.
Well, yeah, and there's I think the Google Photos is obviously a big thing that I'm going to miss. But I've got Image now, which isn't fully supported. It's still in early development and things like that. Anything could happen with that. But right now, it's a good solution, and it's easy enough to move from that to another similar front end. We'll even talk about one that's just been announced later in the show. But there's a couple of different alternatives to that. So if Image was to disappear overnight, Image, IMMICH, was to disappear overnight, then that's not the end of the world. But I'm fine with not having Google One anymore. I'll keep my YouTube Premium subscription, but that's me done with.
But you'll still get a free level, won't you? So, like for example, our recording notes, which I referred to earlier, you'll still be able to use that as long as you're not using it for huge amounts of storage.
Yeah, I think I've got 19 gigabytes on Google Cloud or Google Drive, which I think might have been free allocation or something like that for referring people years ago, or something like that. They were giving away amounts, so I have 19 gigabytes in total. And if the worst comes to the worst, I can always pay $1.99 for 100 gigabytes. That's fine.
Yeah, that's what I do. I got that lowest level one. I decided
Yeah.
to ditch all of that cloud storage, and just keep it locally. That's when I bought my big local drive, and then I've got a backup of that local drive on another drive. So I've essentially got two drives, a working one and a backup, and they're kept separately. So yeah, I do get the relying on cloud storage. I just whoever it is, really, I just don't think it's really hard to decide to trust one person or the other. I used to use one cloud service, another one that went tits up, and I guess they just go out of business if they don't make enough money and they don't get enough customers, and they're not going to guarantee you that then you're not going to lose your data.
Yeah. Well, that's what you can't rely on. Yes, you can rely on the big companies that are going to be around for a good long while, but they do shake things up every now and again, and I don't think Google Drive is a particularly a good purchase for, well, really anyone who doesn't have a Pixel.
Or just use it like I do and like you now will do for what they do for free and have your basic kind of stuff going on. I take a backup of all of my stuff that I've got in Google Drive every month. So that's a completely separate to any other kind of backups. I'll only lose a month's worth of data. But again, you've then got to find some other service that will open those files if you're going to jump ship and go somewhere else. So it's not particularly that clear. It depends on what sort of files. For example, these Google Doc files, well, you can probably convert them and open them in Word or something if Google Drive went away completely, just disappeared. So you've got these files that have got a .doc extension, and hopefully they would open in other platforms. But ultimately, unless you're going to work with .txt files with no formatting or nothing, then you've just got to trust someone down the road, like using Thunderbird, for example, or Gmail backups. You still need somewhere to open that if everything goes wrong. You can't just open an email from a file that you've downloaded from Google unless you've got some other platform to open it within. You see what I mean?
Well, I think LibreOffice on Linux, I'm pretty sure it opens Google Docs natively inside of it. So I've downloaded all of those, and there was a couple that I was manipulating the other day, but I didn't really take into account whether or not it was a Google Doc or not. But even down to the storage amounts, $7.99 for 2 terabytes of Google Drive storage, that was a lot of storage, five or so years ago. But things have changed now with 4K, 60 frames per second videos being stored on your phone, and you can just quite happily fire away at those. It fills up really, really quickly. Getting a more reasonable online amount costs still a ridiculous amount of money. With 19 gigabytes, or what is it, £19 for, is it 10 terabytes that Google's doing now, that they were advertising to me because I was approaching my 2 terabyte limit. It's like, what? That's a lot of money to pay every month.
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of what's on your Google Drive, whenever you actually go through it and you have it all, nicely worked out, the bin is rubbish. It doesn't empty, and it keeps it up. I got my stuff all the way down to something like 460 gigabytes, and I went into the bin, and the bin was empty. But I opened it up on I think it was Brave browser, and had a look in there because I was just doing some fine detail and to try and work out how to get the show notes working. And I went into the bin, and it showed a whole load of files from 2018 in the bin.
Yeah, the bin is kept for 30 days, and I've had that before as well.
No, but stuff
You've
that I
gone,
deleted in
yeah,
2018 was still in the bin.
yeah. And what I was going to say was that I have also gone in there and expected it not to be there because it's gone 30 days, and stuff I know that I've deleted, and it was still there. And then I've done multiple executions of the delete, and eventually I've got it to go away. But it seems to
Yeah.
like, why do you have to do this 4 times to get actually to get Google service to action the command? Yeah, you're quite right.
And it's not a case of it's more like using your own computer, where whenever you empty the bin, you have to allow a bit of time for actually Windows or whatever operating system you are using to go and actually delete the contents. I know it's not deletion, but
Yeah,
to deal
yeah.
with the contents, and it takes a while for the storage space to be recalculated. But you're using a front end computer system that should show you immediately what your storage is once you've emptied the bin,
Yeah.
because it's a calculation that just happens at the front end. You don't have to wait for their servers to actually go in and physically do the task. I don't understand why that happens, but you do. You have to sit there and go, right, let's refresh now, see if
Yeah, yeah,
if you've recalculated my storage amount.
yeah.
But it doesn't happen instantly. It
No,
should.
no, you're right. Yeah, I've been there myself, and I when I changed from 2 terabytes down to 100. Well, I've actually got 128 gigabytes because of the same reasons you said earlier.
Mm.
Um, but when I changed down to it, I can remember having a real trouble emptying the bin and not initially not realizing why my storage was still up where it was. It doesn't tell you, oh, by the way, don't forget, all this is in the bin. You need to empty it.
But even whenever you do empty it and you think that it's emptied, you've got stuff that is sitting there from 2018.
Yeah.
That really perturbed. It's not stuff that I uploaded to Google Drive in 2018 that
No.
I deleted recently. That was stuff that I had deleted in 2018,
Yeah.
and it was still sitting in my bin showing on my full amount, which is 400 gigabytes that I should have been able to access, but I couldn't because Google Drive's bin is crap.
Yeah. I'm looking at my bin now and seeing how far back the earliest thing is, and it's 2023. So you see, technically, if it's in the bin, they say that in 30 days that should have been. Oh no,
Yeah,
there's one from 2021 here. So why hasn't Google removed that? Because they said that in 30
30
days
days.
it
Yeah.
should go, but it's still sitting there. Yeah.
Unless that's a policy they brought in after those things that you put in the bin, they couldn't apply that policy to the things that were in the bin. But
I'm gonna,
yeah,
I'm gonna click. I'm gonna click on empty bin now. Delete forever. Right. It says there's nothing in the bin now, and the storage on the left did go up slightly. So it seems to have done it that time.
hopefully, yeah. But if you go back in a couple of days, you'll probably find stuff from 2015 or something that
Yeah.
you get to walk down memory lane with. And go, I remember deleting that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a whole lot of stuff that I don't remember being there at all. But I got rid of it eventually, and I'm down to 6 gigabytes on my Google Drive out of 19, and that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well done.
I think so. So boot a Polar backup, stay away from them, and if you want cloud storage, get Pcloud. But I'd throw it out to the listener as well. Let us know what you're using, what your solution is. And I know that there's great advice that people say you should have 3 backups, 1 local, 1 cloud, and 1 off-site. So, around at your parents' house, you could have a Synology or a big hard disk sitting with all your stuff backed up to it, and maybe sync thing running and getting it all over there. And that way, nothing's going to happen to it. If those extraordinary events might happen between Pcloud and your Synology or whatever. But let us know what you're doing to keep your stuff all backed up. Or do you just leave caution to chances? Is that the way of things? If your Western Digital hard drive that you've got plugged into your laptop just dies, then that's fate.
Well, you could take that approach. You say, well, actually, no, everything is transient, and
Yeah.
we're all going to die.
I wasn't meant
and
to keep that.
it doesn't matter, and yeah, so bollocks. If I lose everything, then I do. I can't take it with me anyway. So
Isn't that the way the fire brigade do it? Whenever you apply to the fire brigade, they get in the applications and they just take the top 50% and throw them in the bin and go, we saved their lives, they're unlucky.
Yeah, and don't forget also that the average spinning hard drive, allegedly, as we reported on the show, has got a life expectancy of kind of not much more than 5 years. I think it was supposed to be between 5 and 10 years. So, you also need to buy new ones and retire old ones if you're going to be really, really careful.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, that is one thing to come into it. But I think there's been major advancements in hard drives over the last number of years, and I think that those timelines, whilst they still should be taken into account, they're being extended quite considerably. And I don't say that SSDs are any way more reliable over time. Spinning hard drives, I think, are still generally considered to be the more reliable of the two.
Right.
Some may argue with that, but
just not as fast.
SSDs can die.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll move into the news, Mews, and views now and see what's happening around the world in technology. And we're going to start with NASA, who are going to be confirming a new time zone for the moon.
Yes.
Yeah, this sounds painful for any secretaries or assistants to people who are going for meetings on the moon in the future, because putting a time in a diary for a meeting on the moon is going to be really difficult, because the time zones are going to be very, very different. You have to allow travel time and all that kind of thing. So having a 3 o'clock luncheon on the moon is going to require a large amount of computations for the assistant to be able to get an accurate time into an earthbound diary. Ted, what can you tell us about this?
You might be 56 microseconds late.
Ah.
Apparently, this is the American government have okayed NASA to do this, make a time zone on the moon, which is called a coordinated lunar time. But actually, the 3 letters they've assigned to it is LTC, so they've just kind of completely thrown that around to make it lunar time coordinated. I don't quite get that. Anyway, according to Einstein, he says that his theories of relativity say that because time changes relative to speed and gravity, time moves slightly faster on our celestial neighbour because of its weaker gravity. So an Earth clock on the moon will gain 56 microseconds a day, enough to throw off calculations that could put future missions to the moon requiring precision in danger. And we know about this because of the clocks, the micro clocks on satellites that are all on the GPS system. We spoke about that before. But it's interesting that, and also, I don't suppose Russia and China will observe unilateral decisions made by NASA and the White House in America. They'll probably go their own way and say, stuff you, that's not a universal time zone, we're having our own.
Well, yeah. What's that old joke? NASA spent $7.2 million developing a pen that worked in space, and the Russians used a pencil. But therein lies the problem, that the pencil will have little fragments of graphite that break off as you're writing on the page.
Yeah.
On whatever you're writing on, and they'll be in the air floating around and could cause the mechanics and the machine or machinery in the ship or whatever they're in to go on the fritz and explode. But the LTC thing, the lunar time coordinated jobby, is the same as UTC, which is coordinated universal time.
They've changed the letters round. GMT doesn't, BST doesn't, EST doesn't.
Yeah, BLT doesn't either. It's bacon, lettuce, and tomato, but you can have them in a different stack. There can be lettuce, then bacon and tomato, which will fidgy around with that.
Oh look, I hadn't read down further, and sure enough, it says further down there. It says, notably, China and Russia have refused to join. I was right.
So you've got to reset your watch whenever you get up to the moon.
Yeah.
Oh wait, your watch isn't going to work unless you've got a digital watch.
Yeah.
Which should be able to do it automatically. or a smartwatch. There we go.
Yeah. But you need to be able to adjust it in microseconds, though.
But it's fascinating how that works, because the moon is quite unique in that it's locked to Earth's orbit, and that's why we only see the one side of the moon. It's really strange how the moon actually exists, and the way it is, because it rotates with the Earth exactly. But then it's 56 microseconds off. Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, moon's a fascinating thing. But also, so is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S10, which has got some rather pricey pricing, and an AI key on the keyboard, which is great. That's not going to be Copilot then. It's going to be Samsung's own version of an AI
Samsung
key.
AI.
Yeah, great. That's what we need. What can you tell us about this Samsung Galaxy Tab S10?
We don't.
I think it's Plus, isn't it?
Well, we don't know huge amounts of about it yet because it's not really been released in terms of finer detail. But no doubt it will be an OLED again. They're not going to go back to an LCD.
Yeah.
And the pricing seems to be $1,000 for the 256GB model. That's the S10 Plus. And the 512GB model would be $1,200. But yeah, this article really is about the fact that the keyboard that's going to come with it, or that they might charge you separately for. Up till now, my Tab S8, the keyboard came with it in the box, and I think that was true of the Tab S9 as well. And a pen, an S Pen you get with it. But anyway, who knows what...
Oh, physical keyboard. I was thinking the on-screen keyboard. Right. Okay.
No, I think it's physical keyboard. Yeah. I'm just checking that now. I think it is. Anyway, it's all going AI. My question to the panel, the panel of one in this case, is I skipped the S9 year. I've got my Tab S8 here, which is the old LCD one. It's perfectly good. It works beautifully well, and they're going to update it for another 3 years. Three OSs. Is it time to upgrade and spend a horde of money when I don't need to? I think not. What do you say?
I'd say no as well. I'm not going to upgrade from the... Well, I've got the S9, so I'm a little more relevant to the developments. Relevant to the developments, that's cool. Little amuses me. But yeah, I think the S8... I think whenever tablets come into it, I think 5 years is fine for a tablet. It's not something that you use as often as a phone.
No.
Which I'd say is 3 years. You get 2 years of support, and then 1 year to get sick of it, and then you can move then. But 5 years for a tablet is good enough.
Definitely. Well, one thing
won't though. You won't manage it.
Well, I probably will because like you, I don't actually. It's not a primary device for me. My Windows computer is my primary computing device, actually, more so by some margin than my phone and Chromebooks.
But
and
I talk
else.
to you every 2 weeks about these sorts of things, and the listeners will say you do salivate whenever it comes to new tablets.
Oh yeah.
And whenever Lenovo announced something with this, that, and the other, you're like, can I justify it?
I do agree. And we all have the gadget lust about us. But I honestly don't think I use my Tab S8 enough to start to even justify upgrading yet. And it sounds like you agree. And as for the LCD panel, I really don't see it as an LCD panel. It is so good. It just looks like an OLED to me. Really don't think... And it's got a micro SD card slot. Now... These new ones, we don't know yet whether they're going to have a micro SD card slot. Has your S9 got one? I think it has, hasn't it? Yeah.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and I hope they're going to protect that from being oiked out from the S10 series. But I've got a 1TB micro SD card in my tablet. It's great.
You've just reminded me asking me that question. 2 weeks ago, I bought a 512GB to stick into my tablet. I've completely forgotten about it up until you mentioned that. I have to do that. I've got 128 at the moment, and I went away for a while there, and I didn't have enough space for as much programming as I wanted from my syncing from Plex. So I went and bought a bigger SD card and
Put it in a drawer.
forgot about it. So, well, actually, I opened the box on the last show, I think it was, and you told me off. So I set it aside, out of sight, so I wouldn't be touching it. And I've just remembered about it and pulled it out there.
It just goes to show you don't need it, because actually the truth is, I've got a 1 terabyte card in my Tab S8, but to be honest with you, I can't remember the last time I used any of the data on it to watch a film or watch a TV show or just do anything with the data. So it's all a bit gadget lustral, isn't it?
I know, but I might be going away over Halloween, so I do have to get this put in before then, because I'll need as much programming as possible, because I'm going away with some intolerable people that I need my headphones and my gadgets to hide away from. Anyway, right, moving on to... Oh, I shouldn't have said that on the podcast. They might listen. But I'm doing 2 holidays at Halloween. One with a lovely bunch of people and one with a bunch of twats. Right, Lenovo are opening up, are doing a new auto-opening laptop that has been doing the rounds. And we've had a look at some of the videos with this, and it looks like a really cool little mechanism that's built into a laptop. Completely pointless, but really fun. Ted, is this something that you're going to go out and buy tomorrow as soon as it comes out?
You need to watch the video, really, dear listener, because this is such a visually interesting item. You sit in front of your laptop and it's closed, and you just talk to it and say, "Hi Twist." It's called Twist, so instead of Google, you say, "Hi Twist, open lid," and the lid opens. "Hi Twist, close lid," and the lid closes. "Hi Twist, tablet mode." The laptop will then open, spin around at 180 degrees, so that the screen's facing backwards, and then close back down and turn into tablet mode. And then "Hi Twist, laptop mode," lifts it up again, turns it around, and puts it back into laptop mode. So there's 4 commands basically, and this guy who's reporting on this in Android Authority, who tried it out at IFA, I think, he said that it was working with his voice perfectly, but one of his friends, it didn't work at all. So it probably it's also at this stage a concept, and there's no guarantee that Lenovo will actually push this out anywhere, because it's a bit to some degree it's a bit pointless, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is, but I suppose it has its use cases, and someone somewhere has thought, this would make a good idea. But one thing I do love is the piece of software that's running on the tablet during the video. It's obviously designed for demonstration purposes, but it reminds me so much of those, late 90s desktop replacement things that the likes of Packard Bell and Amstrad would whack onto their 386s and stuff like that would have a picture of a diary for you to be able to access the calendar and that kind of thing. But it just looks like that, where it's big friendly buttons with pictures for you to be able to click on what you want to do. And it just, I know it's not related to the product in the slightest. It's just a design thing, but that's where I went with it. And
Lenovo Roller are good at that. They like their front ends. If you have a go playing with a Smart Connect, for example, it's all big button interface. They really like that, making things simple.
Yeah, I don't see this flying off the shelves, but I do see the technology being worked into something else. Well, we have seen this on various different pieces of hardware where it's got sort of facial tracking really built into it, and they've taken that extra step of adding in voice commands and the automatic opening and closing of laptops. Because it's such a time-consuming piece of anguish to have to open a laptop with your fingers.
Well, I suppose you could argue that it's good for accessibility. So if you didn't have the use of your arms, for example, then I don't know. It's just a concept at this stage.
It is. It's terrific for hackers as well. Whenever you put your laptop down, you go to bed, the hacker and looks around your room. Terrific. Yeah. Okay, well, moving on to the next bit of hardware that we have to talk about is going into the kitchen. And I had to read through this, and the headline for the article on Gizmodo is it targets more wireless charging, but I'd say it's more wireless powering of kitchen utensils, where effectively, if you imagine the hob of a cooker that heats up the pots, they're electrical points that you can set certain gizmos on, like blenders or toasters or whatever, and it'll power the unit. So you don't have to be. You can have a bunch of these around your kitchen, and you could have the toaster over by the window and the blender over by the door, and then you could swap them around depending on what you want to do. And you can keep items up in a cupboard. It's an old joke in Northern Ireland that Protestants always keep their toasters in a cupboard. But you can do that and be very Protestant about it, and then
Why
bring
do
them
they do
down
that?
whenever you need to use them. I don't know. It's just an old joke that I remember in school. Because whenever people find this out, they go around the classroom and say, "Where do you keep your toaster?" And you go, "On the work surface." Ah, right. You must be a Catholic. Where do you keep your toaster? Oh, my mum puts it in the cupboard when it's done. Oh, you're a Protestant then.
Wow.
Well, I don't understand. But it's just one of those local jokes that we had.
Right.
I like to think it's a joke. Maybe it is true. My mum didn't keep, or she's Scottish though.
Maybe it's something to do with tidiness and OCD, and that certain factions of society are more likely to be anally retentive.
All right, Protestants are more anally retentive. That's interesting. We'll call the show that and see how much hate we get. No, I don't know. It's just one of those things. But it made me think that this having little areas that you can turn things on, it kind of forces you to have stuff where they are. You're forced to have things because of where the plug location is, and they're saying that this kind of frees you up for that, but it doesn't really, in that you can just, you're forced to have things where these pads are. What did you think of these? Would you have them?
It's a great idea, I think, and I think you're quite right. It's not about charging; it's about powering, and they reckon that devices up to 2.2 kilowatts of power can go through the countertop. The countertop also can't be metal, obviously. And it also has to be less than, I think it's 1.4 inches thick or something like that. There's some data here somewhere which I saw earlier. But yeah, on the demonstrations, again at IFA, I think they were showing these off and moving them around on these power pad thingies, and yeah, it looks like a great idea. I think, why not? Except that I suppose people will say that the conduction is inefficient, and you'll use more electricity, and that you'll be heating in unnecessarily, and blah blah blah. So in the same way as they do with Qi charging, I suppose. But I don't know. It looks like fun to me.
Yeah, I hadn't realised there was a site. I suppose I never thought about that. You know, where someone might have a rather thick layer of granite. The thicker the granite, the less effective this might be. Yeah. It works through 3.8 centimetres or 1.4 inches of stone.
Right.
1.4 inches of stone. That's about that size. So yeah, that would be about the same size as the granite in my mum's kitchen.
But if it's just presumably if it's just a P, not, what's the word, MPC, no, MC, what's it called, that stuff you make
WPC?
no, that stuff you make kitchen sides out of, it's got MDF, that's the one. So presumably if it's that, it'll go through no trouble at all. They're only talking here about granite and stuff that's kind of dense.
The people who can afford to buy these sorts of things probably have granite kitchens. They're not going to have MDF kitchens.
Yeah, that's true.
That's me being generalist. Okay, sorry.
But yeah, not having cables around the place, it's got to be an advantage, isn't it, in terms of keeping things tidy and as you say, changing the scenery, moving things around, and just something different.
It is, yeah. But the same thing, it's like if my wife's standing at the hob and I need to use the toaster, I can just unplug it from the wall and take it over to the other side of the kitchen and plug it in there.
You can.
And that's the same idea as this, just you don't have to pull the plug out of the wall.
And you don't have to have sockets all over your walls, eventually. Of course,
but these things still need to be plugged in too.
Do they?
Well, they've got to get their electricity from somewhere, so there's got to be wires going up to them.
Oh yeah, from underneath. But you don't. What I mean is, you don't have to have a wire trailing across your counter to the plug on the wall, and you can just get rid of all that. Anyway, the bottom line is that even if you put these things in your kitchen, you've then got to buy all of your kitchen devices again that are going to be compliant with this.
Yes, and I don't see Argos stacking them fairly soon. But maybe they are the future, I suppose, being able to plug it in anywhere. And you see that in Star Trek.
Huh.
Well, no, you don't really. They've got replicators, don't they? Where they go up and press a button and it'll make a piece of cake for them.
Very nice.
One day. Right, back to tablets for Ted to salivate over. TCL's NXTPAPER, NXTPAPER 14 won't match the Galaxy Tab's S10 Ultra in performance, but it's just about as big because it's got a 14.3-inch screen.
Ooh.
What type of screen is that there, Ted? Is it LCD?
Well, this is the. I think it is an LCD display, but the selling point, the USP of this new device, is that it's got 3 modes in the screen technology, so you can. Where's it gone? I've lost it. Where does it say 3 modes?
I see the 3 modes. If you want me to go through.
Yeah, you go through them. I can't find it.
Well, there's color paper, which is one of them. Then there's regular mode, which I'm guessing is the regular mode, and then ink paper, which is like an e-ink papery type thing that isn't color paper, but it is ink paper.
Right. Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah. I found it now. So like the Kobo devices, who have started pushing out these color Kindles, basically, that's one of the modes. You can also have a mono mode in that color paper thingy mode, but there's also this third display, which is completely kind of Kindle-ish, and it's a quasi e-ink display. If you played
quasi e-ink, that sounds cool.
If you played with a NXTPAPER phone, which I have, I had the loan of a NXTPAPER 40 mobile phone, and it was really good. It was so clever, and you could use it in full LCD color mode, which used up more battery, obviously, but you could just knock it straight back down to basically Kindle mono mode and just save tons of battery. On the phone, it worked really, really well, and I really liked it. And all this lagginess that we're used to with Kindles has gone up. Well, actually, with modern Kindles, a lot of that lagginess has gone away as well. But these screens are just getting better and better. And I quite like what TCL are doing with these NXTPAPER displays. I think it's quite interesting to watch how they evolve. This one's going to be €399, although it hasn't got a particularly good chipset. It's got a Helio G99. Well, there is another one out there called the NXTPAPER 14 Pro, which has got a Dimensity 8020, which is a bit better of a chipset, and that's $549. Not euros.
That's 14 inches as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's slightly smaller. It's 14 inches and not 14.23. Yeah, so it's slightly smaller, but that's already out there, and you can buy that, but it's more expensive because it's got a better chipset and it's better specified generally. But yeah, I don't think you get all these lovely different modes to, if you need to save battery. I like it. I like what TCL are doing. Good for you. Let's have some more phones, please.
Well, yeah. They're not a brand that you see easily on the shelf here in the UK, which is a bit of a shame. But where do you get this from? Do they sell on Amazon?
So they've got, TCL's website will sell them. Amazon did sell the TCL NXTPAPER 40. Let's see, NXTPAPER, and they also sold the 11-inch tablet. Oh yeah, look, the 50 Pro's on there now.
Well, there's the 14.3 as well on their website.
Oh yeah, look, they've got the 50 Pro here. They didn't have that for ages. I kept watching for it, and now it's there. Look, the TCL 50 Pro NXTPAPER. This is a phone. I've moved from phone from, and if you buy one before the end of August, yeah, that's really handy, isn't it? If you if you buy one before 2 weeks ago, you can get a NXTPAPER 11 tablet for free.
Ah,
That's a
yeah.
yeah. I'm glad we brought this up now because that NXTPAPER 50 Pro was one I had my eye on. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Carry on. I'm putting that in my basket. No, I mustn't spend more money.
Well, screeching halt and back to the tablet. I've gone to the UK variant and I can't see the 14 on there.
Okay.
They've got the 11, 10.36, 10.1, and 8.
Ah,
So I don't think we've got it just yet.
okay.
But soon, soon, baby, soon.
This is
Uh,
you've got me on this. You've got me on this phone now. This is your fault, isn't it? What's that button on the side for? There's a button on the side, which maybe it's perhaps it's a Google button. Right. Okay.
Could be our power button, maybe. Right, okay, well, motionless turbines is where we're going next, that are going to solve the world's energy, noise, and wildlife problems. These are, I think that they're making such big developments in wind turbines, because I think for various different places, especially here in the UK where we don't get much sunshine, we obviously don't reap the benefits that the likes of somewhere like Africa or Australia might get from the unrelenting sun that they get out there. So we do have a large amount of wind, primarily coming out of Ted's caravan, which is weird, but also up in the North Sea and on the top of your house. I've noticed. I was up on the top of my house a wee while ago, and it was bloody windy up
We're
there.
nowhere
and
near
I'd
the
love to
North
be-
Sea. What are you talking about?
Well, I am.
No, you're not. You're near the Atlantic.
The North Sea's up north from us.
No, North Sea's on the right-hand side of the UK. Surely.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm getting my seas mixed up. But part of the
He doesn't know
UK
where he
here in
lives.
the UK is near the North Sea. Sorry, I'm going to Google the North
If
Sea
you-
and see
if you-
just where exactly the
If you
boundaries are.
if you live in Sunderland, then yes, you'll get the North Sea effect.
It is potential that someone listening to this podcast lives near the North Sea. Oh yeah, it's over there. Yeah, that's right.
I'm surprised at you, having been so well travelled in the world.
I just made a faux pas. Okay, I was thinking the Irish Sea. It's
Yeah.
very similar.
Yeah.
But it's very windy up and out there in the open water. So that's why they've built a lot of wind farms up in the open water, in the
Indeed.
likes of places like the North Sea and out in the Atlantic, within the UK's sea areas, whatever you call them. I've forgotten what they're called. But anyway, being able to, we have those big twirly roundy turbines. So throwing in a new type of turbine would be prevalent, and quiet ones as well. Do you have any local council places near you that have these turbines, within earshot of a settlement, be it a town or a village or whatever?
No, they're out on the water. So I live in Abergele, and if I go to the beach, which is not very far away, there's a huge wind farm out in the water. And they're talking about making a new one as well. So this channel that comes down from Ireland to Liverpool is quite windy, and so they're obviously making the most of that. This thing here, though, it says it's motionless, but it's not motionless. What it means is that the turbine, the blades are actually inside the machine, and they've used clever flaps and catching wind type channeling on the way that it's designed to move the air, the wind down into the machine, which then turns the turbine. What the thing that they're selling that's on the back of is that it doesn't kill birds in flight and stuff, because there's no visible moving parts. They're all inside the machinery, and they've got this one stuck up on the top of the BMW factory in Oxford by the looks of it, and so they're testing it out, I guess, and see how efficient it is. But yeah, if this was you'd rather have one of these on a building than you would a whacking great big turning thing, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, the typical turbine that we see, say, out in the North Sea, we actually have one in my home city that I'm living in, and it's near the civic amenity site, or as we prefer to call it, the dump. And they only turn it on for certain periods during the day. It's
Right.
actually the stupidest reason why they only turn it on for those periods during the day, because as it turns, it actually blocks the sun for a small amount of time, and the shadow over some of the houses or the areas gave someone an epileptic fit.
Wow.
So they took a while for them to work out what was going on, but the person's light levels were going up and down in the house randomly.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I believe this is what someone told me.
Yeah.
Might not be 100% true, but it does sound possible. So they only turn it on during, I don't know, the night or whenever the sun's down or something. Or I think that they call that the night, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah. As well.
Or it's behind a big cloud. So, they're having to get away from moving parts altogether. There were also those corkscrew ones that they proved were incredibly efficient, that they were looking to actually sell to people to be able to install on the top of their houses, and it looks like a cone essentially that has a groove cut out of it, and the wind channels through it, and you can turn it so it points into the wind, and the wind obviously turns it, and it turns at a massively fast rate. But again, that would probably damage wildlife, and I think it makes noise as it turns, because anything that turns in some way requires lubricant and requires noise. This keeps everything inside, and you'll be able to access it a lot easier by channeling the wind down into it. So yeah, more power to this sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm all for it, unless you know someone that's epileptic.
True, and also we've learnt where the North Sea is today, which is nice. Moving on.
It's
we
nice
have,
for you, particularly if you don't live in Sunderland.
I don't know where Sunderland is. I don't know England particularly well. I know Northern Ireland, because I could say to you, do you know where Enniskillen is? And you might go, no.
No, that's true. We're all subject to our frame of reference.
Yes. Sunderland. That sounds like it's in the south of England, because it starts with an S. We'll go with that. Right. Roberts have a trio of new Rambler Dab Radios that are coming out, and I would say that I'm almost excited about these. I went away last year, and the wee place that I was staying in had one of these, and I thought it was lovely until I turned it on and listened to the local stations and thought, God, why would I buy one of these? The local stations are crap. But it looks the piece, and it's a nice ornamental radio on the side of at the side of the room. Do you have a Roberts radio?
I have a Roberts radio, but it's a very small one. These ones are kind of almost like kitchen radios, and I'm trying to fathom the size of them. There's three new devices anyway. The Rambler Uno, which is the smallest one, which is 130 quid. The MIDI, which is 179, I think, and the Max, which is 199.
180, I think.
Is
No,
it?
that's the MIDI, sorry.
Yeah, 199 quid. Now, I do like these little Roberts radios, but there's no indication on this article about how big they are. Now, if you go to Amazon and look for Roberts Mini, Roberts Rambler, I did this yesterday, I forgot, Mini. What I do like about one of them is that it's got a forward. Oh, here it is. Yeah, the MIDI, the middle one, has got a forward-facing OLED display. None of your LCD or anything like that. It's an OLED, and it's got a forward-facing. Now, the advantage of a forward-facing one, as opposed to a top-facing one, is that you can put it by your bed or anywhere where you're in line with it, and it's much more useful. I really like radios. I know it's probably the retro old fart in me, but And I don't listen to radio a huge amount of my day, but I really, really like having a radio around in case I feel in the mood for listening to it. And some of these Roberts ones are actually really nice. They're following Pure to some degree. So whatever Pure do in terms of hoiking out what DAB radios they do, they kind of, this, for example, this Rambler MIDI is very, very similar to the pure, can't remember what it's called now, but anyway, trust me, it's quite similar.
Yeah. What would you listen to on the radio? Because I find it a wee bit off-putting, especially when it comes to DAB, because the audio quality can be really, really nasty, especially whenever you got, what is it? I read into it a wee while ago about how some companies were buying into one frequency and then dividing it up so that you get 2 or 3 different stations going out on the one bandwidth, and it halves the audio quality or something like that.
Okay, I didn't know that. Whenever I use DAB in North Wales, it's actually really, really good. But it's also very battery intensive. Now this MIDI, which is the one I would be most interested in, I think, it says it runs on AA batteries. You can put rechargeables in it, obviously, so you could do that. But how big is it? So 24 centimeters high it is. How much is 24 centimeters? It's quite big to be running on 4 AA batteries. Anyway, my dad is a very, very big radio listener. He listens to the radio more than he watches television, and he loves radio. He sits there listening to the news half his day, and that's the one thing he's noticed about DAB. And I said to him, well, just turn the thing on to FM, because it will use about a quarter of the battery. And
or just plug it in.
Well, yeah, this particular one, he hasn't got, it's battery only. But anyway, I think we've done enough of flogging retro radios to last us all year on Tech Addicts, haven't we?
Yes. Yeah, they're very nice. They're a nice ornament to have on the side of the room.
Yes, indeed. I agree.
Sony are doing the MDR M1 studio headphones, and these are going to offer audio and comfort upgrade over their last MDR 7506s. They're going to be pricier, obviously, and they've got new drivers, a wider frequency response, and high noise isolation. Now, Ted, you're big into your Sony headphones. Are you going to get a pair of those?
I currently on my head I've got a pair of MDR 7506 headphones. They're reference headphones for making sure that what you're listening to, they're used in studios for that very purpose, and they have been since 1970 something. They're reference headphones. What you hear is what is going to get recorded, and they're accurate because that's what they're for. I don't quite get why Sony is changing this to make a pair of headphones that are not reference headphones. They're boosting the bass. They're making the frequency responses different. They're isolating noise in a different way. They're making them all comfy. And yeah, charging a significant amount more money for them. These are not really studio reference headphones anymore, because that's not what they do anymore. They've become a consumer orientated, nice pair of Sony headphones that have got their own signature about, beefing up the bass and stuff. They've made them look a bit like the 7506, but I don't get how they're trying to sell these as studio reference cans.
Well, I suppose they're just selling to a market, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, people that have got too much money.
Yeah, and I don't think that whenever it comes to reference cans, the people who use them as reference cans are probably favouring something else right now. And that they're looking to have some sort of reference cans that they can put on Amazon for the likes of the average consumer to purchase, without having to do proper reference cans.
Yes, you're absolutely right, and you reiterate my point and agree with me.
I do, yes.
Well done.
There's a first.
Yes.
Anyway, moving on to Pocket Casts. Pocket Casts are, because we're going into the app attic, or what was it called, the phone zone. That's what we'll call it. The Pocket Casts are doing a pretty cool little additional piece that you can sample just a little bit of a clip of a podcast and then share it along with transcripts to your pals. So where I make a faux pas about the North Sea, you can share that like wildfire around the internet and make fun of me in many ways. What do you think, Teddy? Is this a useful feature for you?
It's not yet because it doesn't work. I'm part of the Pocket Cast beta crowd, and I have got the beta version of this on my phone. But I checked it again this morning, and the transcripts are not working. There's a button for the transcripts, and that would be really, really useful. But I think that the transcripts, unlike kind of clever Google AI stuff and Samsung AI stuff, I think they will only work if the person who is creating the podcast throws a switch and makes all that happen. Because all of the podcasts I went to check the transcripts, the button just said, this podcast doesn't have transcripts. So I'm guessing that is a creator tool that needs to be used. The clip sharing thing, again, I couldn't seem to make that work. I think this is rolling out slowly. The idea of the clip sharing is that while you're listening to a podcast, you're quite right. If you want to share a clip with someone, it's got this kind of slider thingy, and you can chop out a clip and then use the traditional kind of share menu to then send it to someone. The more interesting bit here, I think, is the transcripts, and we know that Apple podcasts have just introduced transcripts, but I think theirs is the same, that the creator has got to throw the switch to make it all happen, and I just couldn't see it with any of the podcasts that I follow.
Yeah, I'm having a quick look through some of the screenshots here to see if I can determine, what length of audio file or audio clip can you have? Could you do up to, say, 20 minutes of a show, or is it limited to maybe 3 minutes? And then how can you share it to? I'm seeing Telegram, X, and
I don't know.
More. Yeah, I'm just wondering if they're going to limit what you can share on, or do you use it? Can you use your own sharing method, say local send or something like that, to someone else who's nearby?
Yeah, I don't know. This article doesn't really go too deeply into the settings, into the details. But I do have version 7.7.2, and I think actually it is working. It's just that I think that it's to do with people, as I say, the creators. Like you and I, we're supposed to do something when we upload the audio to make this happen. I don't know.
All right. I can't say I've noticed any transcript making tools when I put it up, but now I'll look. But it's probably an extra lump of subscription that you would need to add on.
I did notice this thing about you know that Pocket Cast was bought out. It was all kind of it was all kind of nicely run by a bloke in his attic, and then he sold it out to someone, a bigger company. And I did notice when I was doing all this yesterday and today that Pocket Cast Plus is a thing. And it was really expensive to buy Pocket Cast Plus. It was so much a month. I can't remember. I've not got it in front of me, but it was so much a month, and it was significant a lump of money. And I did wonder at first if maybe this stuff only works if you pay for the Plus version. But I saw the transcript button there, so I don't know. Anyway, someone let us know. Listeners, have you played with this?
Yeah. Do the work for us.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. Moto Razr. I'm just thinking that was more about an app that we were talking about, so it should have been in the app section.
Yes.
Never mind. Moto Razr are possibly going to be putting out a third flippy device, and this one's going to be a wee bit more budget focused to get the flipping phones into people's hands. What can we expect from this, and what's it going to be called?
Razr. Well, they reckon it's going to be called the 50S. But Razr are really getting aggressive. Sorry, not Razr. Motorola, Lenovo again, are getting really aggressive with pricing, and that they want to just take the world by storm with devices, and they've got tons of Lenovo money behind them to do it with, and that they really want to take on Samsung. And just do it better and cheaper and all the rest of it. So yeah, I'm imagining that they're going to knock the Razr 50S out at about 300 quid, challenging also what Xiaomi are doing and what Huawei are doing, and the big Chinese manufacturers are trying to lower prices on foldables and get foldables out there, because actually the foldable market in terms of the whole world sales of phones is only about like 1% or something, or it was somewhere between 1% and 2%. I think it's really, really tiny, but because it's innovative and it's in our faces, it's we in the tech kind of community just all seem to be talking about it all the time. But it's just a tiny, tiny amount of what's going on. But anyway, yeah, I think Lenovo and Motorola are going after the market here, and they want to just get phones into people, doing a bit like Google did back in the day. Really, it's like down pricing all the Nexus hardware and getting it into people's hands, and just trying to get it out there. Your turn.
No. I think that's fine. That makes sense. They just need to have that promise of 3 years of support or 7 years of support. That's why people are buying Samsung.
Oh yeah, we in between all the Apple claptrap on PSC this week, we did report that the first Motorola phone has got 5 years of update, and 5 OS updates and security support till 2029, and that's the forthcoming Motorola Edge 50 Neo. While we're in the phone zone, I can report that. And 5 OS updates, that's a completely new up-ramped thing from Motorola. And it's just great, fabulous. Up to now, 3 years has been the absolute tops. 1 year has been the worst. Well, one OS update. But yeah, 5 OS updates. Hurrah!
Well, yeah. Carry on with that, and you'll be absolutely throwing your phones out to people, no questions asked. Well, plenty of questions asked. Credit agreements, and that sort of thing. Right, triple screen phones are going to be a thing because Huawei are looking to put out the Mate XT, which is a new beastly machine that can flip out like a bit like a trifold menu from the Chinese. Well, no, it doesn't fold that way, actually. It folds more like a Z. Yeah, Z.
Yes.
I don't think I've seen a Chinese menu that does that. But, yeah, it's got specs to boot as well. It'll have well, I suppose, what's the best way to put the screen down? Because you can... In a way, I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity because you can't have 3 different screen sizes. It is 2 different screen sizes. You've got your front screen size, and then it folds out, and you've got the large screen size.
No, you can have 2. You can have 3, because you can leave one of the flaps closed still. So you can just have 2 screens in front of you and the other one folded back.
How does that work in a Z fold?
Because right, okay, it's in your hand, and in your right hand you've got the side which has got the camera lump on the back, all right? And then you open it up one fold so that the first bit is still round the back, and you're looking at screens 2 and 3, if you like, and screen 1 is still wrapped round the back. Do you not see what I mean? No, obviously not. Well, it's supported in the text and in this thingy anyway.
Right. No, I've got you. I'm thinking in 3 dimensions here. I'm just drawing some sketches. There we go. Right. So the Enterprise will attack from that position. The Kobayashi Maru's there. So right. Yes. Okay. If you open it like a book.
You open it like a book and leave. If the left screen is screen 1, the middle is screen 2, and the right is screen 3, then screen 1 is still wrapped around the back of screen 2.
Gotcha.
And so you can look at screen 2 and 3 together, or you can open. Okay.
Okay, I'll throw this in as well that I'm just doing that. I'm being intentionally dumb so that the listeners get a real good grasp of what we're talking about here. Because we're going to have a 10.2-inch OLED screen, but then there's a 7.6 OLED screen as well, oddly enough, which is no, it's not. It's a 10.2, which is significantly larger than the 7.6 to 8-inch folding screens that we have in the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, and then. There's a 7.9-inch.
That's that.
If you do what Ted's talking about
that's right,
there.
yeah.
Right. Okay. And then there's the standard, which is
10.2, open right up.
no, but the 6.4. If it's
Oh yeah,
solo.
and that looks nice, doesn't it? Well, it does to me. 6.4 screen on the front. You know, that's dinky and small. It's not whacking great big front screen, but it's still, unlike the Samsung Fold, it's wider. It's not so narrow. So I think being closed up, it's also very nice to use, and it's really thin. So they held one of these up against, folded up. They held it up against the Fold, and it's pretty much, even though it's got three layers, it's pretty much no thicker than the Samsung Fold Galaxy Z Fold 6. So you know, it's a nifty bit of kit. I think this is.
It is, but it's going to be an expensive piece of kit because it's weighing in at 20,000 yen, which is roughly about $2,800 for the 16/256 gigabyte variant. So that's what, £2,300.
I thought it was £2,800, but yeah, you're probably right. I haven't done the math.
$2,800.
Oh, dollars. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then the more expensive one, the 1 terabyte model, is 23,000 or 24,000 yen, $3,300, and that's about 2,800 squiddly doops.
It's a shame it's Huawei, isn't it? That's the only bummer here. No Google services.
Yeah.
But someone else will follow. Lenovo Roller will be next. They'll be on this.
They will. Like a fly on. Never mind.
Yes.
Right. We moving into the name of the game section because I'm concerned about time. We're going to have to get motoring. Sony have announced the PlayStation PlayStation 5 Pro, which is the next logical in-generation upgrade to the PlayStation 5, which some of you may have heard of. This has an upgraded GPU, and it's got AI image upscaling alongside advanced ray tracing, which is better than ray tracing, to help justify one hell of an advanced price rejiggery. What is it? I think we're talking in American terms here. So the standard price of the PlayStation 5 digital, the one without the optical drive, is $450. The PlayStation 5 Pro is going to be $700. I believe it's actually $779, and that doesn't include a stand. Which I thinking of the current PlayStation 5, you can't have that without the stand in any way at all. If you want to lay it on its side or stand it vertically, you need the stand that's included in the box. So they're putting that as an optional extra. Maybe they'll put that up as going, well, there's other options out there you could pick up instead.
Can you not?
Perhaps it'll fit on.
Can you not just lay it on its side?
No, because it's curved. It'll slide off.
Oh, right.
And the stand that comes with it, because mine's on its side, I don't have much faith in that stand, and every time I go to dust the shelf that it's on, it feels like it's about to fall off,
Right.
which is a pain in the bum. But it has 2 terabytes of internal storage as opposed to 1 terabyte, which is on the standard model. But crucially, you have to pay an extra $100 on top of that $779 for the digital version to have an optical drive, which is a real kick in the teeth for physical media lovers. And I think it's just Sony's next step toward actually getting rid of the idea of having physical media, which is a bit of a pain because they're the main ones behind the Blu-ray and the 4K UHD technological advances that have been made recently.
Oh dear.
So, the price is ridiculous, and for people who are thinking of upgrading from the PlayStation 5 to this are going to have a tough call, because it's way more than most people are going to be happy to do. PlayStation 5's game library really doesn't justify it either, especially in the demonstration. If you watch the demonstration, it's showing games that aren't out yet, and games that have been out for so long that have had remakes and remasters and those sorts of things. I do think that this is a bit of a bad move. They should have made something that's going to really put them back on the map with people wanting to buy their hardware. It's hard for anyone to justify this. Ted, would you buy one of these?
I've never used a PlayStation, but I was going to say to you, how far back, if you were a PlayStation buyer, how far back would you do you get compatibility with modern games, or are developers now writing games that'll only work with the most recent versions of the device?
Well, the PlayStation 5 is pretty much fully compatible with the PlayStation 4, but that's as long as you download the stuff from their PlayStation Store.
Right.
I think you can put in a PlayStation 1 disc into most PlayStations, and it should work. I think maybe the PlayStation 2, there's certain types that doesn't work, but PlayStation 2 discs don't generally work in most of them. And then
Right.
You have to get everything through the store, but not everything is there. Sony take the time and rebuild the games so that they work better on the PlayStation 5 and 4 to a certain extent, because the PlayStation 4 is still a relevant platform in their books. But backwards compatibility, I think, is something that it's not an argument that we should really be using. I grew up in the world where there was the Nintendo Entertainment System, then the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and I never thought for an instant that I'd be able to put my Nintendo games into the Super Nintendo. So people clamoring for backwards compatibility, it's a luxury that wasn't always there, but we seem to think that it should always be there.
Right.
Yeah, Game Boy have done it a bit, but they generally lose a generation every generation that comes out. But PlayStation kind of do. But PlayStation's good in their store to try and attract people for backwards compatibility that way, but there's a lot of titles that are missing. I take it that would be one influence for you then, is backwards compatibility?
Only in terms of referencing other equipment, because for example, with Android phones, it's important to most people that it's going to last a long time. And we were just talking about, numbers of OS updates and Pixel's now supported for 7 years, and Samsung devices, and you kind of expect after 7 years for everything that you're going to get on there. But no, maybe not, because a lot of the AI stuff won't work on older hardware, even though they're saying they'll support it. So perhaps it's the same thing. You've just got to accept that time moves on, and you've just got to upgrade hardware, which brings us back to Windows computers and Linux computers, I guess, in your case, whereby you can upgrade components and keep it up to date.
I think generally the generation of PlayStation and Xbox is generally about 10 years, which is a good long time.
Right.
Nintendo Entertainment System was around for, I don't know, maybe about 6 or 7 years before the Super Nintendo came along. And then you got that glorious little grey area where the two overlapped. But the PlayStation 3, I think, was the longest running timeline of any PlayStation hardware, and it got 3 revisions in its lifetime. And then PlayStation 4 seemed like a blink of an eye, but then that's just me getting older. And then PlayStation 5 was announced in 2020, which, by my maths, is about 4 years ago. So we're almost halfway through this generation of PlayStation 5, and some people have managed to buy one.
That's the terrible thing, isn't it, about the whole supply thing that I was aware of as well, that you couldn't actually get the blooming things.
Well, I think PlayStation very much liked that. It helped Sony in many ways, but Sony's game library is very, very light, and they had to include most of PlayStation 4 titles. to be able to have a viable game library. And Microsoft was doing their best to ensure that there was backwards compatibility. So, yeah, if you're going to buy a games console, at the moment, I think the best advice is to get an Xbox, unless you have some sort of Sony loyalty, because Sony doesn't have all of the games. Microsoft have gone and bought up Bethesda and things like that, so they're getting unique titles like Starfield is only available on the Xbox. It's not available on the PlayStation. Indiana Jones is coming out at the end of the year, and there is going to be a version of it for the Sony PlayStation, but it'll be way off in the next year, and there's every chance that it could be cancelled at some point, depending on how well it does on the Xbox. So yeah, it's a difficult beast at the moment, and it's not the way things used to be when there was Sega and Nintendo. You know, they both had their own titles that you would have to make a choice. Do you go with Sega? Do you go with Nintendo? Now both Xbox and PlayStation have the same titles essentially, and they're vying for, you know, special exclusive titles, and it's getting harder and harder for them to justify having two titles going out on the two different platforms. All right, moving into more gaming news, and that's the Acer Dual Play. Ted, you'll like this. This has a touchpad that turns into a controller. You can lift it out and play some games, and I'm sure it's going to cost a fortune.
Razer did this. This was the Razer. What was it? Project. What's it that Razer had a few years ago? It was exactly the same as this. But yeah, do go on. It's just reminded me so much of the Razer project.
Well, I do think it's quite a nice looking idea. I don't know how well it's going to play in the grand scheme of things, but where the touchpad is, you actually lift it out, and it's a wee bit like a phone, I suppose, with two receivers at either end, that kind of shape. A house phone, if you know what I mean, classic house phone. And there's a screen underneath it that can be utilized for gaming, and then the Joy-Con-y type bits can actually detach from the piece that comes out from the computer as well, and you can use them in your hands and freely, or you can have them click together in this piece and use them as a traditional gamepad. It's quite difficult to describe, I suppose, but it has all of the main buttons that you would expect from a gaming controller, although that D-pad does look concerning, if anything. But I don't know. I think whenever it comes to laptop gaming, I don't know that it's something that I would want to actually spend money on a piece of dedicated hardware like this that had this built into it for as long as laptop gaming lasts. This it only takes, in PC gaming terms, about 6 months for hardware to be obsolete now, and it might struggle to run some of the latest titles sooner than you expect. It's got like pop-out speakery things as well, just to up the audio anti. That's one.
And this is different too. Incidentally, it was Razer Project Linda. I put a link in the notes there to Project Linda, and it's different to that because obviously the Razer that's fitted in the same place as the Dual Play Acer thingy is a phone, whereas the Dual Play is just a controller.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's a good looking piece of hardware, and it's nice to see something being developed like this that has gamers in mind on PCs. Next up is Anbernic. They are showcasing a new retro gaming handheld that features fairly strong PS2 emulation, and Ted, you're going to love it because it's that Game Boy form factor.
Yay! And it's big.
Yes.
For people with fat thumbs like me. It looks lovely, doesn't it? I want one.
It does, yeah.
Is it available?
It probably is. If it says it's about $95 from Amazon in the States, so you might be able to get it off AliExpress, and it'll arrive in a couple of months' time. But it's got it outputs at 720p, 960 by 720 with a 4-inch diagonal, and it can emulate PS2 games at 1.5 native resolution. It's powered by a Unisoc Tiger T618, which they've used before in a couple of other Anbernic devices. But no, it looks like a nice little device, and I'll watch out for a review of this on Retro Game Corps. He's pretty good at picking up all of these little Anbernics as they come out.
Oh yeah, here it is. Look, it's available. Good grief, £205.99.
Ooh.
No, that one that is £94.99 on Amazon.com is actually a different model. I just searched on Amazon UK for this actual one. £206.
Well, you know, it has to have a pretty beefy hardware in there to be able to emulate PS2, because that's pretty advanced, and to do it effectively and not just a bit crap is a tough torch to bear. No way, a tough objective to achieve. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah. It does look nice though. I like the rounded bottom corners, unlike the Game Boy, which didn't have rounded bottom corners, but that actually it looks quite nice. And the one that they're selling on Amazon for £206 is also transparent casing, not Game Boyish kind of grey. But it looks nice. Yeah. I want one.
Yeah, cool. No, Anbernic is a good quality piece of hardware generally, and they don't get it 100% right all the time, but they're one of the better things they're one of the better brands for you to look at if you're looking to buy some sort of retro playing hardware.
Very, very nice.
All right, moving on to flap your trap about an app. Microsoft are going to be rebranding Copilot in the near future. They're going to be having a bit of a press event where they're going to rename it Clip-It, which would be great. Oh, I'm just joking. I don't know what they're going to call it.
Clippy.
Clippy, yeah. Well, yeah. Be nice to see him
This
back.
is the very near future. This is tomorrow, as we record.
Yeah, it's 15th.
There's an event. The thing that struck me about this event tomorrow is that Microsoft are they're putting the event out on LinkedIn.
Oh.
It's just typical of Microsoft, isn't it? Appealing to the business crowd, and everyone else would just go for every event in the world is all over YouTube. But no, they won't do a Google thing. They're gonna live stream it on LinkedIn. I mean, for goodness sake. Anyway, that's a side issue, really.
LinkedIn? Is it still a thing? I closed mine down a wee while ago.
Oh, exactly. But the rebranding Copilot. Well, frankly, Copilot's only just arrived in real terms, and they're rebranding it already. What are they up to? There's talk about it being rebranded to the mouthful term Microsoft 365 Copilot in Word.
Well,
I've had enough of this story already.
Maybe they've come up with some catchier title, but I think Clippy would be best.
Yeah, definitely.
Seeing him back, that's what people need. A wee pal.
I wish Microsoft would get more consumer orientated. I mean, the only consumer orientated bit they seem to do is through Amazon, not Amazon, through Android, and they have kind of taken that on board, and they've made lots of their tools available on Android. But everything else just seems to be business orientated, and don't you agree?
Well, yeah, that's where their market share comes from. I think their consumer avenues are very, very small by comparison. So that,
like the Xbox,
yeah, we'll just get whatever crumbs fall off the table when it comes to development. It's like, oh, we could use that for consumers and make a couple of extra coins to pay for the Christmas due. Yeah.
Arse.
Well, moving on back to Google, because they are going to be doing a few things to make it a wee bit more difficult to sideload things onto your Android device, which is a bit of a pain. The Google Play Integrity API lets you check whether an account is unlicensed, meaning you didn't install it or you didn't buy the app from Google Play. So they're cracking down on those pirates who are taking APKs, uploading them to libraries online, and people are downloading that and being able to play the game on their phone or whatever app it is on their phone. So it's just further locking down of Android, which was the open platform that you could do a lot with. Ted, are you going to be annoyed at having to actually pay for your copy of Flappy Bird or Angry Pigs?
I can't remember the last time I installed an APK. It was something that I used to do back in the day when we were all rooting our phones and mucking about. But yeah, I do acknowledge that it is very popular in the nerdy, geeky circles. That they're selling this API on the back of security, of course. They're saying that they don't want side loading going on because people that don't know what they're doing are going to be laying themselves open to fraudulent interactions and to apps that are full of ransomware, or no, not ransomware so much, but all sorts of viruses and stuff. But actually, it's fairly well locked down as it is already, because in order to do all that, you've got to jump through loads of hoops to know what you're doing to install an APK. And it seems like it's safe enough to me already. But yeah, I think you're right. A lot of this they're turning Google more towards like an Apple model of lockdown, walled garden, and we'll do it in the name of security, which is just a bit of a shame, as you say.
Well, yeah. At the same time, if they could verify that Google Play products are completely safe, then certainly they could absolutely do this, and throwing out accusations that people are putting on nefarious APKs that you don't know where they're coming from is one thing. But whenever you go into Google Play and end up downloading some crappy scammy thing from inside their ring-fenced, security vetted software store, you have that problem. Microsoft do the same thing. I don't like downloading anything, not that I have done in a long time, from the Google or from the Microsoft Marketplace, because you really don't know what you're getting. I don't trust it. I don't trust anything from Google's repositories. And Chrome as well, Chrome extensions, I don't trust any of those. I don't like them in the slightest, because you never know what's going to be there. So yeah, I think this is entirely down to people being able to get the likes of Candy Crush or something like that without having to buy all of the gems, and Google are losing out on a few coins from those transactions, those microtransactions that are within the game.
It's all about money, innit?
Yeah, that's the one. Where the hell did you come from? Not you. Sorry, the cat. I closed the door.
Oh.
Maybe the cat's been sleeping up here. Oh yeah, there's a wee tent over there and a fire.
A can of pelican.
Yeah, hobo kitty. Is that you? The cat is here right now, wanting to talk into the microphone. It's a very affectionate cat. Right, next up is Plex Photos. Yes, Plex have announced that they are going to be doing away with the photo integration that they have already built into the Plex app for a more focused app to upload your photos to. It's in really early development. You can get it on Google Play now if you want to have a play about with it. I installed it and it sat there and scanned for I don't know how long last night, and I forgot about it this morning to see how well it's done. I suppose I could open it now and have a look at it and see what it's done, if it's found any.
But it's scanned for a long time, you're saying?
Yeah, not that I had a large amount of photos on my phone. No, I've opened it up and it's still circling. That's not very good. If I click on timeline, it's still circling, and library is still circling. So I'll just leave that going and see if anything happens within the next, 6 weeks or something like that.
What's it supposed to do then?
Well, it's essentially a Google Photos replacement, a bit like Image maybe, that will a little scan your phone and various bits and pieces for photographs and allow you to galleryize them and tinker around with them and eventually turn it into a proper photo gallery application that works with your Plex server and presents your photographs that way.
Oh, I see. So you can look at them on your telly.
Yeah, between your phone and your telly and all that kind of stuff. It is it has been in the Plex app for a number of years, but it's been crap. And it hasn't been the focus of their attention at all, because they've been focused more on movies and music. but now they seem to be focusing more on photos. Be interesting to see what happens. Plex Amp is also getting a bit of attention too, which is an excellent piece of software. I have to say, it's a great app.
Yeah, I use that. Yeah.
And hopefully this will see.
What's happening to that?
Well, I think they're just investing further in developing it more and more. It did have Tidal in it, and I think Tidal is actually leaving on the Plex platform. Possibly, I think I read that somewhere. I'm not sure, but they're just streamlining the main Plex app and taking out these elements that you might not need to give you a better focus on what you actually might use Plex for.
Really nice.
Yeah.
I don't often use Plex Amp, but it is on, I always install it and I register, and I look at it for 5 minutes and then just go back to YouTube Music, but it does look like a nice interface. I should use it more, really.
Well, I've started using it a wee bit more for actually in traffic, when I'm stuck on there's a road in Belfast called the West Link, and I've noticed from time to time YouTube Music will have trouble maybe moving to the next track after you've moved through your library that's downloaded or what have you, or just picking the next random track to play. So I've moved over to stuff that I've synced to my phone from Plex Amp and played back that stuff, and I do enjoy it quite a bit. It works quite well.
Oh, so it will also grab stuff that's locally stored on your phone, will it? I haven't done that.
Well, it's stuff that I've synced from Plex down to my phone in a higher quality.
Okay.
Because sometimes YouTube Music's quality is just crap, or it can't find a particular track you want to listen to, and maybe streams a YouTube video instead that it extracts the audio from.
I do like Plex. Ever since you introduced me to it, I use it every day, and it's a really interesting thing they're doing. And eventually, I did get the lifetime membership thingy, and it's a great service and bunch of tools.
It is terrific. It has its dark days. We don't know exactly what's going to be happening to it in the future. I've had 10 years out of it, so I can't complain about anything. Whatever direction they take the company to keep the company alive, is going to be probably difficult and painful for certain people who have bought things like yourself, who's quite recently paid quite a high price to be able to get the Plex Pass. Changes that they make from here on in may affect that in some way for them to be able to keep themselves afloat. And a lot of people are jumping ship on Plex and moving to Jellyfin because it offers what Plex used to offer on a free and open source kind of way, and might not be as polished as Plex, but it doesn't have all of the gunk that Plex tends to inject for watching stuff for free on Plex's own TV channels and things like that, and recommending stuff. I saw at the bottom of my homepage the other day is a bunch of recommended stuff from Apple TV. I was like, why are you showing me this on my homepage? Don't do that. And I couldn't turn it off, or couldn't work out how to turn it off.
You could. Oh right. You can. On the left-hand side, I found a way of turning off the stuff I don't want to see on the home panel. The settings are there.
Oh, but within Google TV, or within the TV app itself, it was just well, it just went up.
I found it. Right. Okay. And also you can control it from the server on your computer as well. It takes some getting used to the way in which it works with the interaction with the computer. But I mean, you know all this.
I do, but it's just a bit of a pain in the ass to have to go and turn something off that is suddenly showing, or working out how to turn it off and remembering how to turn it off and stuff like that. Tinker around with those things. It's just easier to keep it the way it was that you were comfortable with.
Yeah.
Right, moving into Google Gallows and the Chrome Cone there, Ted. Tell us what's happening.
Very quick one to say that there's a Chromebook showcase on the 24th of September, which is in about 10 days' time. And the only interesting thing there really is that we spoke on the last show about the forthcoming Duet that Lenovo are moving away from the Duet Chromebook 3 and 5 series, and they're just calling it a Duet again. It's slightly underpowered, which means that it's not going to be a Chromebook Plus, as we reported before. But there is this showcase coming up in 10 days' time, and we'll see what comes of that, because that won't be the only news. Obviously, there'll be some other stuff going on there, so watch out for that one. The Google Lens in Chrome, I've been using that an awful lot. I don't know if you have, but it's embedded now. As long as you've got Chrome OS 128 or above, it should be embedded in. Oh no, of course you don't use Windows anymore, do you? I do like my Chrome instance in Windows. They develop it nicely, and I see things happening as we go forward. But on a Chromebook, you should be able to see this, Gareth. 128. There's a little picture of a camera with a dot in the middle of it, and you basically click on it and then use your mouse to. It's just like Circle to Search on phones, and it works brilliantly well. And when you execute it, you get a panel on the right hand side come up that gives you the search results. It's just fiendish. I love it.
Okay.
So yeah, have a play with that if you haven't done already. Good people. And the last one is that I noticed on my Pixelbook, or I should say Ian Barton's Pixelbook, which is in my good keeping, that the recap thingy and it has actually started to roll out now.
Yeah.
I've got my Pixelbook on the developer channel, but you need to have Chrome OS version 130, I think, for this to happen. And it's very simple. When you close down the Chrome browser and then open it up again, it gives you a recap of where you were and offers you to open it up where you want to. It's a nice graphical interface, and it shows you where you were last time you used it. And also across the bottom, some people will like this, some will not. It's got a bunch of suggestions, big button suggestions, 4 of them, to actually suggest where you might want to go based on your previous usage of the Chrome browser. So I just thought I'd report that, and it's working for me. Have you had a go with that?
Yeah, I turned my Chromebook on for the first time in a couple of weeks yesterday and noticed the old recap was there. Didn't use it. I had something I needed to do. I don't have the luxury of being able to sit back and go, oh, now what does this feature do anymore? But I'll maybe have a play with it this afternoon and see what's what. All right.
So there you go.
Nice one. Thank you for that roundup. Bargain Basement is where we're going to go to next, and I'm going to start things off with a little deal over on Amazon for a Poco, whatever way you want to pronounce it, the C65, which is down in price from £170 to £79, which is a bit of a bargain. It's a purple smartphone, there we go, with 8 gigabytes of RAM and 250 gigabytes of storage. The MediaTek Helio G85 processor, and it's got a 6.744 90 Hz display with 18 watts of fast charging. I think that's particularly good specs for an £80 phone. What do you think?
That's amazing. That's a staggering deal, isn't it? For someone, okay, the Helio G85 is not a blazing, but you 56 gigs of storage and 8 gigs of RAM. What's that? Are they giving away a free watch? What's that thing in front of it?
Well, yeah, I noticed that whenever I was going out reading out the title on the Amazon description. I saw a smartphone. I was like, smart watch? What? And that's why I stumbled there for a second. I don't know. Maybe there is something included. You'd think that perhaps it's there, but it's not mentioned anywhere else. It might just be in that particular photo with a small band. But
it looks like a tab watch, not a proper watch.
Yeah, it's a strange band on it.
Oh, I know. Here we go. Google. Let's have a go at Google Lens. We're just talking about it, and I'm going to put it into action now. I've put a picture around it, and it's come up with bugger all.
Right. Well, I think it might just be the stock shot they've decided to use that they haven't...
Oh, no, hang on a minute. It's a charger. It's a Qi charger. No. Is it?
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. Anyway,
I didn't realise this had Qi charging built into it.
No, it probably hasn't. It must be some sort of watch or something. That's really odd.
Well,
Anyway.
it has a large 5,000 milliamp hour battery as well, and yeah, it's got TUV certification, low light, low blue light, flicker free stuff built in. So yeah, I think it's a good option, especially maybe for elderly or young person wanted to go, or second phone if you're going from A to B or going out clubbing.
That's an amazing price, isn't it?
Yeah, 53% off.
Unbelievable. What a lot of phone for that price.
Yeah, and Xiaomi make good phones anyway, so should be a reliable build quality. What you got?
Logitech MX Keys Mini. So this is not the proper one, but it's the mini one where it's got less keys and they're a bit more cramped. But even so, down from 90 quid to 57.99 at the moment. Nifty little keyboard. We do like our MX keys, and if you want a smaller version for travel or whatever, then it's on sale, 47% off. Actually, they're claiming that it's 109.99, but it's not really, is it?
No, that's.
Well,
Keepa's not actually working on the site at the moment, which is oh no, that's I'm in Brave. That's why. See, right. Next up is Anker. Anker have the USB-C plug, the 735 charger, which is Nano 265 watt charger, and it's down in price from £55 to £35, and it's got 3
£30
ports on the back. No, 35, 34.99.
I got 29.99. But you see, that's because you're in Ireland.
Okay, that's not fair.
Yeah.
That's
and what's that? Get one free. What does that say? Exclusive Prime price, and then it says there's a code there. Can you see that?
No, I don't have Prime.
Promo code, right? Get one free. What does get one free mean? It doesn't actually... Oh, here we go. Terms. Add both to the basket. You get 2 for the price of 1.
You're joking.
No, that's what it's saying. If you put 2 of these in your basket, then for the £29.99 you get 2 for the price of 1, as long as you put that code in it. Good grief.
Or because I'm from Northern Ireland, it's 1 for £35. Right, okay, that's fair.
Redeem
well,
the
actually,
code.
I'm not logged in, and this is through Brave, so it doesn't know where I am or who I am.
I'm going to put it in my basket and then go to basket. Because if I get these at half price, we can have one each. Right, okay. Proceed to basket.
And this is a 735 charger, yeah?
It's the 735 charger. Hang on a minute. I didn't put 2 in the basket. Bollocks. You've got to put 2 in the basket. This is a lot of fun for everyone. Redeem the what's it. Put 2 in the basket. Add to basket. Proceed to checkout. Oh, there's 3 in there now. You silly sod. Change that to 2, and then.
That's where they get you.
Where do you put the code in then? Anyway, that's how it reads. I haven't quite been able to... Oh, hang on. No. At the moment, the basket is saying $59.98. But that definitely says 2 for 1. I'll continue to check that out later, but if that's the case, I'll get us both one.
I don't need one, though. I've got some stuff like this. This is a PPS 3-point fast compact USB Type-C charger for MacBook Airs and iPhones and Galaxies and all that kind of stuff. There's 3 USB ports on the back, 2 USB Type-Cs, which are IQ3, which is Anker's measurement or intelligent charging, and then there's a USB Type A on there as well, which is IQ2. But yeah, they've got breakdowns on the website of how it puts out different charging voltages depending on what you put in and stuff like that. There's a whole charging guide actually for single port, 2-port, and 3-port charging. I'm not getting into that. That'll take forever to cover. Right. So yeah, that's a bargain if you can get it, and even more of a bargain if you can get it the way
Well,
Ted's getting it.
I'm still trying to negotiate it. This is being sold by Anchor Direct UK, so it's not coming from Amazon. So it must be Anchor's own promotion. I'll keep looking at that later and report back. Right, the Samsung Galaxy S24, the baby one, 256GB, 8GB version, is down from £859 to 709, and then it's reduced again to 669, and then you get a free Chromebook, which is the little baby
What?
Chromebook. It's not actually very well specified, but it's a free Chromebook. It's an 11-inch little kind of studenty type one, and you get a £10 Galaxy Store credit as well. So if you monetize all of that, you're probably looking at about 400 quid for an S24.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty good. Yeah, it says here you can get a free kidney as well. Right. Excellent. Nice. So £709, and that's down from 860 with a whole load of free
669.
stuff.
Because there's a £40 voucher, isn't there? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. And that seems to be a deal that they're running. Yeah, there's qualifying items as well. Actually, it's more Amazon's running that, because if you click on through to that buy one, save 40 quid, there's a bunch of pixels in there as well. Samsung Galaxy's Xiaomi 14 Ultra. So yeah, there's a wee bit of a deal going on there with Android smartphones on Amazon.
Yeah.
Nice.
I bet you're glad you're tuned in now, listeners, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a good phone. That's what I use as my daily driver as well.
Oh, I thought you had the Plus.
Right. No,
Okay.
I've just got the standard. I went for a Wii phone this time. I thought the Plus
Very,
was
very
too
nice.
big. So the Ugreen RevoDock, RevoDock, which is a USB Type C hub Ethernet 7-in-1 USB-C dock. That I got one of these. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I got one. I use it day and daily. My Samsung tablet is currently plugged into it. This is it does outputs 4K at 60 hertz. You've got USB A 3.0 ports. There's two of them on the front. There's an SD card, micro SD card, and then you can plug in the HDMI on the back. And it's got USB Type C that plugs in there too. It's got Gigabit Ethernet, and it's nicely built. Really is. I love this. I take it everywhere. Well, not everywhere with me. I take it most places. I don't go to the bathroom with this. It stays on my desk until I leave the country, and then I take it with me. It's down from £43 to
£25.99. Why are all our pricings different?
I don't know. You must have some sort of special deal. Are you going out with one of the girls that work in
It
Amazon?
says RRP $34.99, 26% off, $25.99. Also,
Weird.
I'm not sure if you mentioned it's got 100-watt power pass-through charging, which is you might have mentioned that, but it's
No, I haven't managed to achieve that yet. I don't know that it does do that. It might do, but across a bunch of different devices that are outputting,
okay.
maybe. But I haven't digged around. I stopped caring
Maybe
about
it's
that sort of thing.
maybe it's what you said earlier. This is like Prime member price only, and they're suddenly kind of giving Prime members a bit more benefit in that respect. I don't know. Let's see if you've got the same. Oh no, this is Fair. I'm going to Fairphone next. Fairphone's own website are flogging the 256GB version of the Fairphone 5 for 499 quid, down from 699. And if you click on the right thingy when you order it, you get a free battery to put in the back, because we know it's a modular phone. I've never seen the Fairphone 5 reduced certainly by that amount of money. That's a huge reduction. And yeah, 499. Cool.
Well, anyone who doesn't know what the Fairphone is, do you want to give us a quick idea in case people go running up this?
Well, it is a full experience. It's a Fairphone. It's an Android mobile phone, but it's modular. So you can take the back off it and replace all the component parts if they break. It's supposed to be supported to 2031, I think, in terms of software updates, because they put this long life chipset in it. Yeah, if you break your camera lens, you can just open the back up and buy a new one and put it in. If you want a new battery, you can just open the back up and put it in. Speaker module, just loads of the stuff inside you can just replace. And Fairphone claim to be selling the modular parts for the ongoing future, for the life of the phone, which is, as I say, like 7+ years. And they also produce it in a way that's very eco-friendly and saves the planet and all of that. It's very good, eco-friendly, morally sound company. And up to now, it's been really expensive to get in on it at $699. But yeah, $499.
Nice. So it's a good option for people who want to save the world. All right, moving back to docks. Whilst I was looking for at that Ugreen dock, I happened to notice this one as well, which has been dropped in price considerably. But I think the main difference between this and the one that I spoke of is this one seems to be 30 hertz as opposed to 60 hertz on the 4K output. That's the only real difference I can see, aside from the setup of it.
No Ethernet.
Oh, fair point. But maybe you could do that by a USB-C dongle. Anyway, this is the Ugreen RevoDock USB hub 7-in-1, USB-C adapter, 4K HDMI, 100 watt power delivery, USB Type-C to USB-A data port. It's 5 gigabits per second, so there you go. It loses the Ethernet, but you can do it through the USB-A. Okay. SD card and micro SD card slot, USB-C dongle for Mac and all that kind of stuff. It's down in price from £24 to £15.29, which is a nice little reduction in price. That's what I'm seeing. Ted's probably seeing it for 20p.
No, that's the same. Really strange, isn't it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a nice little dongle, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I like those things. They're fun.
And the last one
is
going to be the JBL Flip 6. Now that it's reduced in price, £129 down to, depending on which you want, $89.99. So you need to be a bit selective there. So nice. I've never had one of these, but apparently they're really, really good. 12 hours of back time, and deep and bassy and boomy and. Oh, is this one not waterproof? I thought it was.
It is waterproof.
Oh yeah, IP67. Yeah. So, £89, bargain.
Cool. Party on the beach with Ted. And you haven't bought one of these yet?
There are some Bluetooth speakers I do not own.
The day is still young. All right. Well, that about brings us to the end. I think that's us hitting the 2-hour mark about now. So let us know if you have anything that you think is relevant to the show by emailing us at gareth@techaddicts.uk. You can also find us on Twitter as well, or X, sorry, at techaddictsuk. You can find my website at Gareth, or you can find me on X at Gareth Myles, GarethMyles, and I have Mastodon and Blue Sky as well. I have my GarethMyles.com, where you can find out bits and pieces about me, and where my output usually goes out there. And I'll be putting out a review of some headphones over the next couple of days, 2 sets of headphones, for you to have a little.
You need to do more of those DVD bundles. They're really good fun watching those. Go to.
I'm going to do one of those later
down at your auction house. They're fantastic.
I've got 4 bundles that I need to do. It's just getting the time to do them. So there's more coming. Yeah.
You can find me, I'm at tedsalmon.com as always, and all the stuff I do links out from there. Audio podcasts and Mewe groups where we chat, so do come and join us. PayPal.me/TedSalmon is where you'll find a place to buy me a coffee. And apart from that, yes, I'm generally hanging out in Mewe.
Awesome. All right, well, we'll be Well, we're going to be doing a projector room on Wednesday, and then we'll be back in 2 weeks' time for another fun-filled load of nonsense on the Tech Addicts podcast. Take care now.
Goodbye.